the CEO of Skullcandy, Rick Alden. He's going to tell us about surfing versus snowboarding.
Yeah, before I get this thing started tonight, I want to say that it's a long presentation, so I'm going to talk fast. You're going to listen fast. We'll get through this thing because I've got double the material that we've got time for. I will tell you that while I was presenting this, someone looked over my shoulder and said, hey, you know something, Rick, this presentation looks a lot angry and a lot more political than your typical presentation. And I said, you know something, it's probably right. So I want to start out by saying that I'm not here to try and tell you that my views are right and your views are wrong, or try and influence your politics, your religion, or anything else you've got going on in your mind. I'm not here to tell you that my thoughts are well thought out or organized, and you'll see tonight that my typical thought pattern is pretty disjuncted and disorganized, and that's what you're going to get tonight. So the only reason I'm really here tonight is because I got an email about a month ago saying that if I showed up on August 20th about 7 p.m. down the Murray Theater, I'd have 5 minutes unrestricted with a microphone in front of an enlightened audience to say whatever the hell I wanted. And that's what we're doing here tonight. So tonight, the problems here and the solutions that I have related to the evening are snowboarding, surfing, and bigotry. And let's go ahead and start this thing up, and we'll see if we can move this thing along. Lots of problems in the world. The number one problem, in my opinion, is the base root problem of all problems in all of America is our dependence on foreign oil. If you look at all problems, all things can be dependent based on our dependence on foreign oil. Now, every problem can also be a solution. If you look at the state of California, you're going to find out that our wonderful governor of the state of California, Schwarzenegger, has now been offered $100 million for every oil rig that he's willing to put off right off the coast of California, right off of some of the greatest surf breaks of America. So that could be a great solution to both our dependence on foreign oil as well as his $21.3 billion deficit in the state of California. Now, of course, foreign oil is also a bit of a cause for this thing called our foreign wars issue. Now, if we allow these oil rigs off the surf coast of California, I think we can probably eliminate some of this. So I'm going to probably back Schwarzenegger for a little bit on this whole put the oil rigs off the surf line. Let's move this thing forward. If we look at other problems in America, racism. Believe it or not, our dependence on foreign oil is a great cause of racism in America. Let's move this along. We have old school racism in America. We've got new school racism in America. Racism goes two ways. It's us to them and it's them to us. Racism and bigotry are not the same thing. If you guys look at bigotry in America, bigotry has been going on for an awful long time. Bigotry is any reasonable attitude that's unusually resistant to national influence, and most importantly, it's one who is narrowly or intolerantly devoted to his or her opinions and prejudices. Bigot is someone who holds predefined negative views about a class of people. As we move this thing forward, there's a bigotry that exists, and I'm not talking about racism, I'm talking about bigotry that exists on both the national playing field and on the local playing field. If we move this thing forward, you know something? This has not started recently. The founding fathers have been fighting the war of bigotry since the day these guys came to the shores. Now let's go back to our dependence on foreign oil. If we look at the way the Democrats want to handle it, you know something? They've got their plan. If you look at the way the Republicans want to do it, you know they've got their own little program called Sarah. If you want to look at some of the deeper problems in America, one of the biggest problems that faces in my life, my personal life, it is the crowded lineups in surf swells all across Southern California, which are, believe it or not, entirely dependent on our dependence on foreign oil. Now, for those of you who have been surfing as long as I have, I've been surfing about 20 years, and in 20 years, there's never been anyone that surfs worse than I do. And if you want to put me into a lineup like that, I guarantee you it's not going to go well for them, and it doesn't go well for me, and we need to resolve this issue. So if we move this thing forward, if we go back to our dependence on foreign oil, the Democrats have got the Prius. Now, of course, the Republicans, in their wisdom, have now come out with a new title, if you've seen the new thing from the National Center for Policy Analysis, that actually the Prius outdoes the Hummer in environmental damage, and here's the evidence to prove it. Now, I don't know where the Republicans come off saying that that vehicle is better for the environment than that vehicle, but I guarantee you I will tie this as to how these two vehicles will improve my chances in the lineup down at Trestles when I'm surfing. So let's move this thing forward. The biggest questions that plague modern day of our politics today are, of course, three things that I know all of you are thinking about. Number one, why do surfers make better snowboarders than snowboarders make surfers? Number two, why are there still 4 backwooded, bigoted, slow-minded, dim-witted, one-piece ski suits wearing, double daffy jumping, 2-planking, 3-pinning idiots running ski areas that still do not allow snowboards in this country today? And of course, where does bigotry begin? I will tell you right now, the biggest problem that we've got in America as far as why do snowboarders make worse surfers than surfers make snowboarders? It comes down to one thing only, and that is uphill transportation. Never would you see a surfer show up to our mountains here in Utah and have us hand him a snowboard and say, hike yourself to the top of the mountain and get down by yourself. No, when they show up, we put them on a chairlift. Now, when we show up down to their lineup, what do? They hand us a surfboard, put us in a rubber suit, and tell us, paddle. This does not work for me. I don't get enough chance to lay in the... And you know what they tell you? They say, listen, if you are in somebody else's lineup and somebody drops in on your wave, it is your responsibility as a beginner surfer to take it on the head like a man. Now, I don't know when we have ever told a surfer that's come to our mountains to take the mountain on the head like a man if you are standing in somebody else's lineup, but this doesn't work for me, so move this thing along. Well, we tell them if they're having a hard day, go hang out with her and sip hot chocolate. This is how we treat the surfers when they come here, and believe it or not, our dependence on foreign oil will resolve all of these issues. Keep moving. In my opinion, we are here for one thing only tonight, and that is to boycott bigotry within the ski resorts of America. And that is the 4 general enemies of the United States of America: Deer Valley, Alta, Mad River Glen, who really cares about those guys anyway, because when was the last time any of you were in Vermont and cared about their mountains? And of course, the National Forest Service, United States Forest Service, because you tell me why Alta, on public land, is allowed to keep me and my children off of their mountains. So now, board sports have to help each other out, and right now what's going to happen is wakeboarding is going to help out surfers, make it more hospitable for snowboarders when we show up on their thing, and it's going to start out with tow towers. Because if we had a tow tower, we would not have to paddle out to the back of the lineup to figure out how to turn around, paddle back in. So I want tow towers at the back of the lineups. Move this thing forward. Now, of course, this is a beautiful thing, and if we start paddling out or piling up tow towers out in the middle of this, it's not going to help anything, is it? But it would help if we start putting oil refineries out off the surf coast. And if about every 200 yards we put another stop there, we put another tower, and we put tow ropes attached to every single one of these towers to haul me from the beach out to the back of the lineup, I'll be a better surfer. We will resolve our foreign dependence on foreign oil, we will stop foreign wars, and we will, of course, solve the $21.3 billion deficit in the state of California. Now, of course, these are not very attractive, so this is what I plan to do. We're going to put a Denny's on top of this one. We're going to put an amusement park on top of this one. We're going to put some condominiums on top of this one. We're going to put, of course, some shopping malls on top of this one. And for the surf breaks in Dubai, of course, we're going to put some office space. So, foreign oil, wars, bigotry, all resolved, and particularly, most importantly, gets me out to the back of the lineup without having to paddle. Please move forward. How will all of this affect global warming? I have to breathe. There's going to be a little bit more water, but more water is important because if we move this thing forward, we already have not enough surf breaks, and so if we start coming up with some more water to raise up the levels, we'll get far more urban-dwelling surf breaks so that we don't have to be out just in Southern California to do the surfing. So keep this thing moving on. There'll be plenty of water for all of us all over the earth. Keep it moving along. We will have surf breaks and water all over America, all based on the idea of resolving the dependence on foreign oil by putting more refiners off the state of California. Move that thing along. Water everywhere, new styles, new way of living. And of course, what's that going to mean for us out here in Utah? Well, I think it's important that we all sacrifice to be able to resolve these problems. The biggest sacrifice that we're going to have to make is we're going to have to give up on all snow sports whatsoever because there will be no more snow for any of us to have to worry about, which of course resolves the problem with Deer Valley and Alta because that's what it'll look like based on the track that we're currently moving. Vail, Park City, this is the new vision based on global warming and based on our dependence on foreign oil. Keep it moving. Now, of course, if you don't believe me, if you think this is a little knee-jerk reaction, you tell me why Burton Snowboards just bought Channel Island surfboards because they know which direction this is all heading. So if you take this thing one step further, move it along because I don't remember what the heck's coming up next. What is the solution to our dependence on foreign oil, crowded lineups at the surf spots all over the world, California's $21.3 billion deficit, hatred of the Christian community of radical Islam, U.S. foreign wars, not enough clean African water in Africa, impending December mudslides in Park City, my poor surfing skills, surfers inhospitable tribute to snowboarders, lack of a Grand Slam breakfast at the back of the lineup at Trestles, and most importantly, the end of racism and bigotry in America. Boycott Alta, boycott Deer Valley, and boycott Mad River Glen. Now, at this point in the presentation, I brought some stickers, but what I noticed is that they had been done incorrectly. What I typically bring out at this point is a sticker that says, bigotry begins at Alta, and I pass them out for everybody to put on the back of your car. Somebody got it wrong tonight, and they printed me 100 stickers that says bigotry starts at Alta, and while it's the same message, it actually is just not good enough for me, so what we've ended up with is and of course, Deer Valley sucks, and I'm going to pass these things out. Everybody take one, put them on the back of your cars, and please drive a Prius. Thank you very much.